Hi, this is Rob from Clearly Agile down here in Tampa, Florida, and today we're going to take a look at Kanban for emergency and crisis management. Now, the reason why I like Kanban for these types of situations is pretty simple. First one, it's quick to set up. It does not take a lot of effort or a lot of supplies to set up a Kanban board, either physically on a wall using painter's tape and post-it notes, or digitally using something as simple as Trello just to get things up and going. The second reason is Kanban is extremely simple to use. There aren't a whole lot of rules, and there isn't a whole lot of training involved, and anybody who's just participating can get the general gist of what's going on very, very quickly. The third one is probably the most important one for me, is that Kanban is highly adaptable. In emergency or crisis situations, there's absolutely going to be work that we know needs to get done in advance. But the nature of it is a lot of that work is going to come out of nowhere. It's going to be emergent, it's going to be unexpected. And Kanban has ways of dealing with that emergent work that blends it in with the other work that's being done that makes it pretty effective in those type of scenarios. So in a minute, we're going to actually go through a sample board and we're going to walk through just a couple of uses just to give you a little more exposure to it. And I hope you get something out of it.
We're going to start out by looking at a sample Kanban board here. Now, I've created this board using an online digital tool, and online digital tools are great for this if all of your team members are geographically distributed and all remote. It gives them a central online hub where they can come to interact with the board, the tasks, and the team to be able to do the prioritization and manage the work. Now, just keep in mind that this same board could be created physically if everybody was in one location using something as simple as painter's tape and post-it notes. On our board here, we have three main sections, starting here on the left. We have intake, and intake is the place where new requests are managed, and new requests also receive some level of triage, prioritization, and categorization. In the middle, we have a doing now section, and in here we have 4 horizontal swim lanes represented on the board. Now the bottom 3 here represent teams, and each of these teams have an area of specialty in this situation. This top one you'll notice is labeled expedite. Now, expedite is something that we'll explain a little bit later, but it is reserved for the most urgent and most critical items facing the response team. The 4th section over here on the right is done. Now, done is as simple as a place to store all the work that has been recently completed by the team, so that anybody looking for information or an update on where something is can also look at the done column to see what has been done or recently completed by the team. You can see now our board has gotten a lot more visually interesting. We have items waiting over here in the new request column. We also have items sitting over here in different colors with icons and badges. We have items now in the team lanes that are sitting in a ready to start state, and these have colors and these have icons sitting on them as well. So why? Kanban is a very visual system. The name itself actually translates from Japanese to English to visual sign. It will use colors, it will use badging, it will use icons. Physically, we can use different color cards, we could use stickers, we can use slashes of color added to things. The whole idea behind it is that anybody who's interacting with the board doesn't need to go searching for information. They can use the colors and the keys that are available to them to kind of assess what's going on. It's also a very common practice to put a legend up with a board so that when you're looking at it, you can map across that yellow equals resumption team, and this icon here also means something of high priority. So next we're going to talk about Kanban and the fact that Kanban is a pull system and not a push system. Right. So what exactly does that mean? In Kanban, we will often create a little bit of an artificial queue so that we limit the amount of work that any team can start working on, so that the focus is not on how much they start, but the focus is on actually getting those items done as rapidly as possible so that they can go and pull the next item in. So here we have some limits set up on our board. You see a 4, we see a 2, we see a 2. So if I was on the resumption business team, we have a few items here in the ready to start column. As a team member, I would pull the 2 highest priority or prioritized items in, right? When we see that, I've hit my limit. And the queue is almost empty. We have room to prioritize. Now, as the team's working on this, all right, that pull action has created room to add to our queue and ready to start. So I could actually take these next 2 items that are ready and move them into our waiting queue. Now, as a team member, we have moved these over. Both of these are now free and available. We've got a little bit of space. As a team member, I would go back and I would assess what is in the queue. I would look for the highest priority or most urgent item in there, and I would pull that now into in progress. And also, because we still have a little bit of room left, I would again pull that there in progress. Now, that may seem a little foreign if you're used to working in a push system of just loading up the work the work where everything has to get done. But again, the focus on Kanban is to take it and chunk it down into very small actionable items that really are the highest priority, and the focus is to get those items to done as rapidly as possible. While that is going on, the work that is over here in these other sections can get reprioritized if items come in from triage. That prioritization can and should be happening while the team is working on items, and they're just going to go over here and they're going to work on the next item that's ready. So next we're going to look at how intake, triage, and replenishment happens on a board. So we have a team here, the response team, who has their queue is full. They have 2 high priority items, one regular and one lower priority item. All right, so the team starts pulling the work in. They're working on this. It's starting to move through their board. As they're doing that, there is a team that is responsible for doing intake and triage, right? And their primary role is making sure as these items come in, they get classified and prioritized as rapidly as possible. So for example's sake, we're going to take these 2 items and we're going to add them to the response team. We're also going to take one of these and we're going to set the priority on it to be high, right? So now we have these items that are sitting here, and this one here, let's also make this one a priority of normal, which I don't need to do anything with, right? So if a new item came in, right, their queue is full, they're still working on it. If a new item came in and it was of a priority high, and that was going back to the same team, right? What do we do, right? They don't have any more room. Their queue is full. They've got stuff that they're working on in progress, right? There's no room to pull it in. Well, the beauty of Kanban is this prioritization, because nobody's working on, can get reshuffled and redone at any point in time during replenishment, right? So if we needed to, we could deprioritize an item or 2 and actually add this one in the priority queue for the team. So to make sure that the next time they pull this item over and they have space, one of these high priority items comes over and we start clearing those items first, right? So there's a little bit of prioritization exchange between the results of triage and just staying ahead of where the team is to make sure that those items are assessed and prioritized and reprioritized often, so that next high priority item is always there for the team to pull from. Next, we're going to spend some time talking about the expedite lane. Now in Kanban, there's something called class of service. And in class of service, it's a way to talk about the global priority of work in relation of one item to the other. Typically, the 2 that we see most often is standard work, which normal and high priority items that are coming through here to the teams already, and then something called expedite, which is reserved for the most critical items, the things that would stop the press moments, respond now moments. Kanban creates a path for those when they hit to come through the board and get that high level of urgency that they demand. So in this scenario here, we have the response team who has 2 high priority items already in progress and 2 items over here already in progress, some items waiting in triage for them, and maybe they start getting prioritized because that's all we have for them today, right? This new item comes in and it gets, first of all, prioritized as a critical. Right, that's something we haven't seen on the board before, but this is something that is a showstopper, a respond now, needs to get done now, highest of high priority. Right, it's also something that goes on the response team. Now, in the scenario here with Kanban being focused on finishing the work, well, what do we do with this? Right, do we swap this out? Do we put it in the queue and wait for them to pull it next? Here is where we would leverage the expedite lane. Right, the expedite lane would hit the board, the team would come, we would do the check-in on the board, there would be some sort of notification, right? But this item being up here in expedite is a trigger for this team who is responsible for this item to basically hit the pause button on all of this work. And while that pause button is hit, the team's goal is to get this through the system, through what needs to get done, to resolved as quickly as possible. And then once they've done that, they can start the resumption of normal work moving through the board as they start to close that out. So the expedite lane is there as an opportunity or as a way to get those super urgent high priority items through the board now. Now, as you can imagine, you don't want to abuse this. You want to make sure there's classifications around what is an urgent or an expedite work. What goes into that classification. What are the criteria that it needs to meet in order to hit that, and make sure it's something where it can't be abused. Where lesser high priority or important stuff that somebody just wants done doesn't get pushed up there. Right? There should be few expedites that happen on a regular basis for any team. But we do want to create that pathway there to respond to them when they do come up. So that covers what I wanted to cover today for using Kanban for crisis management. If you like the information or you're looking for other information about Agile, be sure to follow us at the link down below. And thank you. We'll talk to you soon.